So Jonathon Perrelli is CEO and co-founder currently of LifeFuels, and it's his seventh startup venture. And I'll tell you a little bit about LifeFuels in just a second, but their mission is to help people find their fuel. And he, over a 20-year career, he's sold 5 of his 6 companies that he started, most recently in 2014 with Secure Force, which was a cybersecurity company. And he's also an early stage tech investor and founded 4 to 5 ventures in 2011. Invested over 50 in 50?
45 cents, about 40, I'm about
40.
More.
That's okay. Early stage or emerging tech companies, and a member of the board of directors of over a dozen private and 1 public company over the course of your career. No more, apparently. He also co-founded DC's first tech accelerator before, which may be a little known fact. And he then teamed up with a storyteller in DC named Justin to put together a documentary series called Startup Land about the second cohort of folks that came through the form. He's also a single father to 3 young children. We'll talk about that in his roller coaster ride too. And strives to achieve balance, but he has 2 other passion projects among all this other stuff that he's working on. Virginia Tech Innovation, right?
Yep.
You're a Hokie yourself.
Hokie alum.
A Hokie alum. And the Vanetta Project.
And we're really focused on disrupting an industry that no one's disrupted in a really long time, perhaps ever, like merging tech so that your water bottle communicates with your phone, communicates with your wearable devices, a watch or a Fitbit, a Garmin. And the idea is that we track output data now. Like, how many of us have a device where we track some output? If you have a smartphone, it's tracking your output too, so I guess all of us do. But if you think about output and not input, and you're not actually caring about input, that's problematic because it's really impactful and negative on your health. So we bring together input and output, we correlate the data in order to help people find their fuel and live healthier lives. So our mission is, it's been a long road, it's been wild, like over 2 years, and we'll talk about that. But I'm excited to be here and talk to everyone today. I hope that we just Q&A and just, if you walk away with 1 nugget from us today, that's good. More like a family than a company. When I got there were under 300 people. It grew to over 12,000 when I left with acquisitions. We were about 20 million in revenue, 5 billion in revenue when I left. You were able to tackle. Crazy growth, insane, and I've never experienced anything like it before. So it was a really unique time when telecommunications was deregulated and just learned a ton. But we laid the infrastructure of the internet. So 82% of all internet traffic at one point was on our network. So
the fun fact that you're skipping over is the dude that you hired, remember?
Sean Parker.
Yeah. Sean Parker.
Timberlake.
That was Sean Parker's first boss.
Yeah. Second boss.
Second boss.
Yeah, that's true. He's not a fan of Justin Timberlake, actually. but he's doing great things. $250 million for cancer research at the Parker Cancer Institute, and yeah, 0.7 in the model actually. So that was my first gig. It was 5 years in a day. The reason we have 5-year vesting for stock at LifeFuels is shit takes a long time. You know, people say you get out of it what you put into it. The truth is, I get so much more out of my relationships in tech than I put into it. And the hardest thing really is, I think, when you're a founder and you have a vision, you're trying to make things happen, making sure you turn it off. So turning it off means actually fully focusing.
One of these points in your, let's stick with more the career side, where you felt like you just learned a lot and maybe would have done some things differently looking back. Can you kind of pick one and give us an example of something that you would have kind of done? You talked a little bit, I guess, with Secure Force about waiting to sell.
Yeah, I think probably I would rather talk about UNet because I learned so much, but actually the truth is that I think we all learn the most from our failures. So e-tantrum, I'll stick with that because, you know, at the time, MP3 players were everywhere. There was no iPod, and everybody thought music should be free, that we're using Napster. So the industry didn't think that, the government didn't think that, and ultimately they were shut down. But it was the first peer-to-peer network, incredibly, the growth was insane. What I learned from that was you cannot put all eggs in one basket. This is like a simple thing, like everyone should know this, but many of us just don't think about it because you're too busy. And we were literally planning to just get acquired by or merge with Napster. And just the dumbest thing ever, because like we read the paper every day, and they're like a Supreme Court ruling, and people from the industry were Metallica wanted to kill them. Lars and Sean are friends now, but they literally wanted to kill them. They were outside their office like protesting. The Metallica band was at the Napster office in San Mateo protesting against them. And CMGI did have an offer to acquire us. They did pay us a down payment, but then they went under, so we actually ultimately just died, and then we got some money out of them. Long story short, all the eggs in one basket, huge mistake. You should, in fact, treat your company, whether it's with investors or potential suitors, just like you would on eBay. Like nothing sells on eBay to one person. If it does, it's not the highest price, and certainly not the best terms. Terms are more important than price often. So, yeah, I think that would be the best lessons I have to keep a journal from every company. And I've gone back a few times over the last couple of years and looked at the intention point, like, we were so stupid. Because we didn't think to execute on things. And one thing I know is true for everyone in this room. You have a thought sometimes and an instinct, and it's typically related to if I could call this person or if I had access to this person. Like, we've all had that. If I could just talk to that person, like everything would be solved, or at least I'd have a better, path. But we fear calling that person or reaching out to them or whatever. And that is actually the biggest fallacy of business, perhaps life. So yeah, I think just don't fear anything. Like be fearless in your execution, because you don't know who's going to say yes, you don't know who's going to say no. But sometimes the ones that say no turn into a relationship that ultimately you can help each other into yes. So that was something we really screwed up there. It's funny, LifeFuels at one point thought we would go out to the market with our prototype. So we have this bottle, this version 1, if you just Google us or look at our website, on 10 awards this year for product innovation and design. It was great, but Rob and I and others knew like that wasn't the product that was going to go. But we had prepared for that. So we had like an army of interns that were ready to market socially. We had 20 employees, we're now 10. Sometimes you have to get smaller with them and get bigger. That's one of my investors tells me that at weird times. But back then, we were driven to bring this thing to market, but we had competing kind of thoughts internally. Long story short, we went from daily stand-up meetings, management team, daily stand-ups to teams on 2 different floors of a really small building. And we had disparate, troublesome communication. That was the start with 20 people. Like, that should never happen. I know better. But it did happen, and it doesn't happen anymore, but it did. And so I think you just have to be in touch with positive and negative energy. And that's one thing I try to do every day. Like what positive will happen to what negative can I get rid of? That's sort of a just trying to be example about life. And if you have negative, you kind of have to root it out. It goes way beyond who you know. People used to say it's who you know. It's not at all who you know. It's what relationship you have with them. So what I've always advised founders, and Harm and Amelia, most recently with Hatch, it's rare I don't wear life
I know, it surprised me when you showed up this morning. I was like,
well, because I made this stupid statement that I would wear a life t-shirt because I thought the models were a year ago. It's like, I'll wear a shirt until we see models everywhere. So I have like 30 of them. Unless it's special occasions. But advice, you can get like mentor and advisor with Hatch. But you know when you have good chemistry with someone, and the key, it doesn't matter what your industry, the key is to develop relationships. People, again, don't have fear. Call that person and say, hey, you've been down this road before, someone told me you have, could we meet for coffee? People don't think about that, but the relationships that I had from Virginia Tech and UUnet are the relationships that have made my career. And they are real relationships. They are friendships. They are people that I travel with personally, not just the business. So it doesn't matter the age, stature, or place you are in your career. I think what ends up happening is the people that advise you say, there's a podcast you need to listen to. This is a book you really should read.
Yeah.
This is another person I want you to meet. This is an event you should go to. We didn't want to just go and be one of the startups in the basement sharing like a 6-foot card table. We wanted to go and we were next to Under Armour and Fitbit. Well, behind Fitbit now, but we were right there with the big boys. And what's interesting about that is it's good and bad. It brought a lot of those people who had expertise to us. To answer your question, we didn't know shit 2 years ago. Nothing. We read this podcast we're talking about. We know more than that now, but we're still learning. And we learned a lot by being there and attracting a lot of energy. We won awards, which was super. If you ever apply to CES, that award is gold-laced platinum. Like, it's unbelievable to win a product innovation award because then everyone comes to you. We had hoped for, and I'll get to manufacturing in a second, but we had hoped for maybe one partnership potentially in one news article. But we're spending like tens of thousands of dollars to go. 13 of us were there for a whole week. Airbnb, holy hell, that was a crazy situation. But winning that award, we had over 70 meetings. We had a ton of partnership opportunities now. Some partnerships already solidified. And there were dozens of press mentions from all over the world. So the brand was out there. Now the problem is, if you haven't yet manufactured your product and you don't have your shit straight, and things aren't exactly on parallel, you're not ready for the market. Now, I don't think we've been punished at all. Our partners are so psyched because they know we're at the forefront. Coke and Pepsi are behind us. Every little startup that's doing a hydration tracker, the quality just tracks how much water either goes in or goes out, and they're not always accurate. We have them all. We're definitely at the forefront. So we were put on a map that actually scared the shit out of me. Because now there's this pressure, this weight, that we keep winning awards. And we don't even have a product to the market yet. Like, give us a break. We need a little time. We'll win every freaking award when the product is out. I'll say that now and then. We will, but we're not there yet. So what happened as a result of going to CES, because it's this sort of vector of all these different manufacturing consumer people, is we met along with them. In fact, our design firm we partner with now, which probably, I'm assuming is something you're interested in, is industrial design, based on the question you asked about all those things. They are based in the UK, and we tell this almost like a joke. Rob and I were at the front of our booth, and 2 Brits and Irishmen, Scott, I forget, walk into our booth at CES, and they literally tore our product to shit. They grabbed it, and one of the guys, it was hilarious. It was like not staged. They were industrial designers and engineers. One says, it's kind of top heavy, mate. The next guy grabs it and says, like, why do you need 5 pods? Why is there a screen? You know, all this stuff, and we were like, we agreed. So we'd already decided that things would change, right? But meeting them, because of that, has now taken us, I think, to the next level. People, I hate to say this, but you're gonna screw up. Like, holy shit, do you screw up? Like, startups especially, we're all crazy in some way. Like, thank your parents, your DNA, whatever. But there's a certain type of crazy that's too crazy. And there are ways to spot it, which I'm getting better at. By the time I'm done with this, I'll be really good at. But like, ADD's fine, it's manageable. OCD's great for certain positions, but like sociopaths are not. They're not. Well, if they're running, then they can be, but then they have to have sales. Sociopaths. Good sales, great, but not with your sales team. Like narcissism is a trait that can be very beneficial for certain leaders, but not good in every culture. So, I don't know, their sales, their tests, like psych tests online, you can get people that will, caliper is the old one we use, that can tell you, like, this person's going to be great at sales, but tough to manage because they're crazy in this way, or whatever. So, I don't know, that's kind of weird advice.
For those of us, the Gen Xers, that are in the latter half of their professional career and have never gone down an entrepreneurial path, but maybe there's this idea in the back of our mind that suddenly we're like, okay, we have more free time now, I want to do this thing on my own. What's your advice about, I got these expenses and this income today, I can't go start my own thing, and, you know, start over.
Yeah, so I know your situation with family, you have responsibilities, like that kind of stuff. Wife doesn't want you to dig into retirement per se, maybe. The first thing I would do, and thanks, not everyone does this, and it's hard to do it sometimes. Like in stealth mode, it's hard to do this, but the lean canvas, like looking at the situation and saying, how can I actually talk to people to see if they would buy this product? Like it's literally as easy, if you go to a startup weekend, it's part of the process, and their Lean Startup Machine is an event that goes to every city, every quarter or so. And it's basically 54 hours, just like a startup weekend. You go, you share the idea, you hopefully build a team based on your idea, you compete for, hey, I want to sell my idea and get a team. And I've seen people as simply as taking a clipboard with what they drew was a website or an app and bring it out on the street and saying, would you use this app, dog vacay, for example? Like, would you do an Airbnb / like dog sitting for your pet? Yes, and if 80 people out of 100 say yes, like build that thing. Or make sure no one else has one in your market maybe. But I think being lean means a lot of different things, and I think the one thing that's most important is having a business model canvas. Forget writing a business plan, like no one reads that shit anymore. Paul's the first person to ever say that to me, and I was like, 2010 or 9, he was like, nobody reads business plans. He's like, I'm not writing a business plan, take it easy. He's like, no, people are still writing business plans. It's a freaking PowerPoint deck or a keynote. And it's true, you don't need a business plan. So you need a business model canvas, a lean story, and then if you can sell that story to enough people, then take the path of, okay, it's going to cost this much to build it, I'll keep my day job while it's being developed if I outsource development, or like I got very lucky and had a team, many of which I've had to fortify, so happenstance, fortune. Bring people together, and then you just know what your expenses are, so you know how much risk you're willing to take. Or rich uncles, Jeremy Marcini, our good friend, Trenner, those guys have sold companies now, right? I think people invest in people they know, and I think it's really important actually to take risk alongside investors. So I'm the largest investor in LifeFuels right now, probably not the best Goldman Sachs financial advice you would be given, or I have been given, but I don't give a shit, because I know it's going to work, or I'll die trying. Like, it's going to happen. So, if you have that kind of passion for it, you've got to make it happen. You're going to regret it. But if it's just an idea because you think you want to be an entrepreneur, who I was talking to last night? Oh, a buddy of mine from college called, and I said, he's leading a big company, wants to start his own thing, and he mentioned being his own boss a bunch of times. And I was like, dude, you're freaking hot. You're going to have 100 bosses. And he said, well, there's 400 customers. Like, then you're going to have 450 bosses. Because every person that's a customer, in fact, I'll just tell this story quickly. This is a vegetable fruit delivery, organic delivery business that he's thinking about buying, actually locally, moving back from California. And he said there are 400 people. And I said, dude, you realize that if you bring someone fruit that has a bruise, they're going to call you and ruin your dinner. He's like, it's funny you should say that. I spent 3 days with the owner, and someone got kale instead of cabbage, and he had to leave his dinner with his family and go frickin' deliver. And I was like, yeah, that. I was like, if that's the life you want, awesome. But if you're doing it because you want to be your own boss, you're never your own boss. I have 5 bosses on the couch there, 5 more back at the office. Almost 24 investors. We've raised a shit ton of money for angels, and some of them I feel like I report to because I do. It's their money. So anyway, we'll talk more about it.
Can you feed